Hey, what's up? It's Genesis and I hope you're doing well. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down MYSTIK RAY from the Quasar compilation album released under Neoluminum. Without further ado, let's get into it. So I'm going to firstly go over the drums, which are these grey tracks over here. So for this intro, I have this hi-hat which is pitched down just a little bit, and it's being washed out by the reverb here. And if you're an Ableton user, you can get this washout rack for free on my website, link in the description below. For the second half of the intro, we have the same hi-hat but pitched up over an octave, and I have some loops here being introduced. I've got this being used as the top, using the washout rack again with a low cut, and this one is being filtered in with these filters here. In this build-up section, we have some claps that are being filtered in by the washout rack again, with a bit of an EQ to bring some of the presence of that clap a little bit. Also automating the reverb here. We've got this loop on the same drum channel as the previous loop here, also being faded in. For these drum loops, all I pretty much did with the sample itself is I stretched out the drums to a halftime kind of feel. I'm using the beats algorithm with transients mode, and I'm using the forward playback instead of the back and forth playback, and I've got the decay to about 64%. So you still have the kind of decay of natural drums, but you've got like the stuttery, unnatural feel of it. Introducing the kicks here. Got a kick stutter here as well. I cut off the reverb off of every channel that has reverb, and I've got this little hi-hat count, which gets louder in volume gradually. And it's the same hi-hat as before as well from the very start, but like pitched up another octave and more. And here are the drop drums. The main drums are this kick here, which is being pushed a lot. This clap consisting of 4 different clap layers. We've got this one, this one, this one, and this one. And we've got the hi-hat, something relatively simple, and I have a signal delay. The way this works pretty much is that you have any delay effect at full dry wet. Once you're on time mode, the delay tap knob becomes your signal shift knob. I like to usually use this on hi-hats just to give the drums a little bit more of a lazier, drunky feel. I guess you could say it's kind of like J Dilla drums, but not finger drummed in. It's more of like a calculated J Dilla drum feel. And if you would like some more tips on using delay with sound design, I also have a video of that. Link will be in the description below again. But yeah, the hi-hats have a bit of reverb on them. The clap is completely dry, no reverb or delay, except for just a little bit of EQ. And the kick is completely dry as well. I've got all the main drums going through a saturator, and this is like being pushed really crazily hot, like 16 decibels. But that's because I like to have that crunch between the kick and the hi-hat. And I feel like without it, it just kind of feels... It doesn't really have that much aggression that I want. As long as I get that crunch with the kick and hi-hat, then I'm pretty much set with the saturator. I also have the hi-hats from the intro still being layered underneath. It's very subtle, but it adds a bit of a lower pitch attack to the hi-hats every now and then. And this is the fill. I know that SKV is a big fan of this fill, but pretty much it's just like a bongo reversed on the very start here, and then pitched up at the very end with a few stutters. And that's pretty much that fill. That's it in context. As for the other drums in this drop, we have these occasional like snare layer rings. I made this with a bongo again, with a bit of distortion and frequency shifting and EQing to pitch it up higher and make it sound brighter. And this is one of the other tips in the delay video I mentioned, where I'm using it as like a tonal delay thing. If you want to know about how this works in further detail, the link's in the description below. I also have this bongo fill again, but instead of using a bongo sample, I'm using an 808 snare, but without any white noise included. So it just sounds like this. And it also is pitched up like an octave. So this is it without pitching. And it sounds really close to a bongo, so, you know, might as well use it as another bongo fill. There's also, occasionally every now and then, some additional percussions, like this ride here. That's being pitched up and down just to give some rhythmic melody. And there's also these additional hi-hats. These hi-hats are pitched up with the frequency shifter, and also being auto-panned, and they have another signal delay as well. But this time these hi-hats are being shifted by a whole 120 milliseconds. So it's very, very lazy, very I wouldn't say swung, but it's very drunk. These hi-hats are from a drum kit that I'm going to be releasing soon, so keep an eye on that if you are interested. After the drop, you have the breakdown section. It's pretty much the drop drums with a hi-hat, an open hi-hat from the pack that I'm working on. It's being reverbed out a lot. Same drums from the intro here. And on this section, I used the same loop, but I chopped it up a little bit more. Just to give it a bit more of a straightforward rhythm, to give it more of like a driving kind of feel. Still have the claps that are being opened up eventually, but I also have these hi-hats that are from the intro yet again, but I've got this dugga-da kind of rhythm going on. Just to give a sense of forward momentum. Introducing the open hi-hats again. In this section I have the kick drums and open hi-hats and claps playing at every 3/16 notes, so you get this kind of like a dotted eighth, I guess, rhythm. And I think that's pretty much it for the drums. It's almost the same thing, except that I'm introducing these open hi-hats in the drop. After that we have these as the harmonic layers. It's not really much, like only 5 tracks, but they still do a lot. I have this sweeping square wave on wavetable, and I've automated the sync and pulse width a little bit, just to give it some interesting tones every now and then. I also have this operator, and I'm automating the decay time of the synth, as well as the washout rack here. It's just a square wave, but it has 2 frequency scatter racks, which I call them enneadecagons. And you can get these racks from my website as well for free, link in the description below again. But these are pretty much like an alternative to disperser. Since I don't have the money or the plugin itself, I've made a rack that doesn't use any third-party plugins, and is completely free if you have Ableton. And I'm using it to get this kind of sweeping sound. Just to give it something a little bit more interesting than just a square pluck. On the second half of the intro, I added another layer of the melody, but up an octave. On the breakdown I did the same, but down an octave instead. And I cut off all the reverb. And the second half of the build-up, it's up an octave again. Yeah, and I pretty much chop up the sequence up sometimes as well, just because I feel like it's a lot easier than just writing a whole new section. You can just chop it up like a sample. You also have these pads. Yet again, running it through washout rack and a bit of chorus for some movement. Got this pad as well below. Completely dry. And I have this Reese bass here, being made by Wavetable. It's got some chorus, and I have monoed the bass as well, and turned down the width just so it doesn't get too crazy. Drove it a little bit. And I also have a frequency shifter on the entire thing, so I can get this kind of sweep on everything. Also a washout for the low cut, just in case. Okay, now for the part that everyone's been waiting for pretty much. It's the basses, or what I usually call the overtones, because it's not actually bass for my sound design in particular. But it consists of 3 layers. They're all operator. For the first layer we have this sound. Yeah. I'll turn off every single effect real quick, and then we'll deconstruct it that way. So this is how the operator patch sounds like without any effects. The main bubbliness of the sound is coming from this third voice here, and because I'm playing the notes in like a sub-octave with this transpose knob here, FMing the sound with the initial frequency at the very end can give it some warbly pitch bend, and that's how it gets the bubbly kind of sound. The tonality comes from this second oscillator here, but the movement is from that third voice. I have a signal delay, just to shove it forward a little bit, by 80 milliseconds. I have ozone to make it nice and wide, and then an EQ to tame the wide low end, and to cut the low end as well, just so I get the overtones. I have the Enya rack again, just to give it some more of that sweeping kind of quality. I then have a multiband dynamics that I have set up as a soft gate. Saturated just to beef it up a lot. I then have an erosion, just to give it some interesting harmonics there. I then have corpus as a tonal delay. And the way this works is that you have your tune knob tuned to the same note as what you're playing, and then you put it at the -1 or 0 octaves, and you have it on either pipe or tube mode. And the reason why I say tonal delay is because you can pretty much replicate the same kind of sound with just a simple delay plugin. There's more on that on the video I mentioned in the description below, but it's just that Corpus has a convenient tuning knob, so I like to use it that way instead. EQs, just to clean it up a little bit more. Some room reverb, just to put it into some space, and some washout rack again, which is automated throughout the track for some transitions and stuff. And here are the automations. The thing about Corpus as a tonal delay is that you can automate the decay and get some nice push-pull kind of details. Just like during this first 4 count here, it's a little bit more closed because the decay on the Corpus is a little bit shorter, but it then opens up to a more, like, a little bit of a larger sounding decay. so it's a little bit more in your face. The second layer is this. What I pretty much did is that I copied and pasted the top layer here, but only changed a few things. So if I turn everything off, the only thing I changed on the operator patch was the first oscillator's coarse pitch, and instead of putting it at the fundamental, which is number 1, I put it at the 5th multiplier, and it gives us this this ringy undertone. Everything else is the same here, except I don't have the erosion up here. I just go straight into corpus. And I have a frequency shifter for some tonal variation later on. Another EQ, room reverb, and that's it. And here you can see me using the frequency shifter to just to give it more of a tonal sound. And the third layer is this. Yet again, I copy and paste, but this time I tweak the operator patch a lot more. You can see I've changed the chorus knobs on all of them. Let's turn everything off first. This is what it sounds like. I've put, I think, a few more frequency shifters at the start. I then have 2 Enneadecagon racks. I don't know why. It gets turned on and off at some point. Oh, right here. Oh yeah, I turned on and off the Enneadecagon rack because there's a tail that exists since I'm using 2 instead of 1. There's like a low rumble tail that lasts on up until here. I wanted to get rid of it while the fill plays out. This one right here, just so I can make it a little bit cleaner. I've got some more ozone imager to make it wide. Same EQ, same saturator, different EQ, an additional Enneadecagon rack on the top here, just to give it some additional movement again, and some room reverb. The second drop is pretty much a copy and paste of the first drop, but I changed up the flow every now and then, as well as changing up some of the parameters again, like the time knob over here, and that pretty much controls the decay of the synth. And I've upped it up here just to give it more of a in-your-face aggressive kind of sound. Woo! And yeah, like the second drop is pretty much, as I said before, copy and paste. I'm just changing up what I already have to give us something new. For the sub, it's also operator yet again. And I have only, as you can see, it still has the automation from the level here and some things tweaked because I probably just copied and pasted the patch here. But I only have the first oscillator engaged with some odd harmonics on the top. I also added a pitch envelope just to give it some punch with each attack. I added an Enneadecagon rack. You can't really hear what it does now, but it does something later. Signal delay to match with every other synth here. Got the saturator. And another one. The reason why I use 2 saturators is because the different algorithms can add different kinds of harmonics. So having a digital clip is more of like an aggressive, high-endy distortion, whereas an analog saturation is more of like a warm, mid-rangey distortion. And I've added this Enneadecagon just to give it some more of that movement again. I then have this vocal right here, which is very quiet in the mix, but it's the only vocal I have in the song, so might as well. I have these reverse kicks every now and then, and this is the effects group. Pretty much just all effects, all risers and fallers and background elements. You've got this atmosphere, which is a stretched out guitar loop, pitched up really high. It sounds like this. And what I'm pretty much after is a kind of movement behind the stretched out sound and the very high pitched sound. You can hear how like slowly but like hastily changes tone. And with all the high end information, you can pitch it down a lot with a frequency shifter, which is what I did here. And I also added an LFO for some additional movement. As you can hear, there are some additional mid-rangey artifacts that are brought down because of how much you've pitched this signal down with the frequency shifter. Added some chorus for some movement, yet again. And some stereo width, and then some washout to tie it all together. I then have it throughout the entire drop as well, automating a few things. This next layer is a buzz layer. Pretty much how I have it set up is I have an operator. I have a sine wave being FM'd with noise, and because this noise is mono, and I don't want to use the spread because it can get wildly out of phase, I duplicated the patch 2 more times to get a purely left signal and a purely right signal, and I combined them together. I then added a saturator to get some mid-range harmonics and to crisp up that high end a little bit more, and then I added an EQ to shapen it a little bit more, bring out those high ends a little bit more, and washout rack, but this time I'm only using the low cut, so I get those mid-range all the way up to the high kind of buzz. I use it during the breakdown sections as well as some points in the drop, which is mainly what it was used for. It adds that extra bit of impact during some important hits like these. And adding that with some clean white noise, it can add a lot of impact. And this is a trick I learned from Artifacts. Shout out Artifacts. There's a video on that. I can't remember which video it is. As I said before, there's a noise channel over here, which is directly under the buzz channel. It's just all noises. Pretty much it. I have this channel, which is relatively interesting. This is just a regular cymbal sweep. But in this channel I have a frequency shifter to pitch it down, give it some body, saturate it to make it louder, and to add some additional harmonics again, as per usual. EQ. This time I really want that low end, because I want to pitch that up again with a frequency shifter. And then I have this grain delay, which is what makes those tails. And combined with this 808 sweep, you get these crazy impacts. And this is the main reason why I pitch it down and up again. It's because of these 808s and the way it interacts with the low end to these frequency shifters. Then the final touch is the washout, as usual. And then the rest are just channels of different settings of the washout rack and just impacts and risers and stuff. And I think that's pretty much it. And that's going to be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to like and sub to Neoluminum and my channel to buff our algorithm RNGs. Leave a comment if you want to say something, and maybe share it to someone you think would find this useful. You can further support me and Neoluminum by checking out all the links in the description below. This will include my official website, my Discord, Neoluminum's Discord, my Patreon, and other social medias. Once again, thanks a lot for watching, and stay creative. See you in a bit.